And with that, welcome to the deciding game of this best of 3 round of 64 matchup between Knuschebar and TheViper in Winter Series 2 by Elite Gaming Channel. I'm Pesti, the founder of EGC, together with the fantastic Lidakor, bringing you the casting today. Spawning in the west of the map on Altai, we have Knuschebar in red, playing as the Chinese civilization on his home map. Spawning on the east, we have TheViper playing as the French civilization. Both players going for this in what is now reduced to a best of 1 to advance to the round of 32. What are you thinking, Lidakor? Any thoughts on the map?
I think this has to be the dream scenario here for Knuschebar. Look at the locations of those forests. These basically form a perfect defensive barrier in front of his base. We talked about this before the game, that the Chinese want to play an economy-heavy approach over here, as you already see the mill dropped and being supervised by Knuschebar. So, being able to wall themselves off against potential early Knight's aggression is quite vital for them, and they have all the tools to do that. There's multiple ways where Knuschebar can wall. He can use these slopes over here with the rocks, or he can use the forests for himself, but I'm fairly certain that Knuschebar has to be happy with his base being very safe. The goals are kind of exposed on the far right, and they're kind of far away from the town center, so that's not ideal, but it's still something that he could potentially wall off to the edge of the map, so this is like a 10 or 8 out of 10 map for him. Whereas for TheViper, his gold mines are both at the back, his front a little bit more open, but he also has to be satisfied with his base, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess with this matchup, as you were saying prior, it was TheViper that needed some favors from the map more than Knuschebar. Knuschebar with probably the better civilization from the map. So Knuschebar didn't really need an 8 or 9 out of 10 map, but he's got one, so he'll definitely be, I would agree, more than satisfied with this situation. Going to be really hard for TheViper to use the natural advantages of the French civilization, those being the early Royal Knights, and the potential in particular to raid and put some damage on the opponent. Going to be really hard for him to do that on a map like this. So going to be interesting to see if he's got something else up his sleeve to deal with the situation. Like, it looks like he's already gathered quite a good number of sheep, which is going to do him any harm. But do agree that Knuschebar will be feeling pretty good about this early situation. Actually, looking at that sheep situation, they both have quite a large number of sheep. Of course, Altai does in general have a lot as a map, but yeah, they'll both be relatively satisfied, but in particular, Knuschebar feeling good right now.
Absolutely. Obviously, for Knuschebar, grabbing extra sheep is very, very vital because you're using your supervised mill as your food economy, so you need as many sheep as you can. Viper added a second scout in Dark Age to collect some more sheep, which I think is completely justified by the fact that indeed this map has a ton of sheep, so you're getting a lot for yourself, and of course, you're able to take some away from your opponent with that extra scout. And there is the stone mine for Knuschebar, so he's going to work towards that second town center. As I said, the pieces are given with the Chinese. 2 town center, Song Dynasty, and then Castle Age. It's just the order that matters. It looks like he's going to open up with a second town center, and then we'll see if he goes for Song Dynasty first and then advances to Castle Age, or decides to go for Castle Age first and goes for Song Dynasty after. Personally, I think an earlier Castle Age is a little safer, whereas obviously there's a higher upside to an earlier Song Dynasty because your economy is going to be better that way. Here comes the walls for Knuschebar, so he knows exactly that he wants to focus on his economy. Then he needs to make sure that there is not a single bit of a chance for Viper to push with Royal Knights, although it's very likely Viper will just play professional scouts at this point. He's got the mill up, and he already has 2 scouts. Makes sense for him to go pro scouts and maybe even try to take this patch of huntables from his opponent.
Now, of course, China as a civilization is probably more known than any other for being very, very strong in the very late game. But I think the last game also showed that TheViper, as a player, is particularly good at managing late game APM situations. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Ultimately, what TheViper really wants to do is to prevent this game going too late because of how strong China are. But I wonder if he's also backing himself to kind of make up that civilization gap a bit with just how good he is and how much he likes playing these late game scenarios.
You're spot on with that. Viper is very, very good when it comes to late game. I think the biggest problem for him right now is that Viper's late game power comes from the fact that he's able to manage multiple places at the same time. And that is something that's very useful in open maps like Arabia. On this map, however, it's less about managing 15 places at the same time, simply because you have one narrow gap where you're fighting. So on this map, I feel like that late game prowess for Viper is less significant, and I think the civilization advantage could be a little more relevant. Now, Knuschebar is almost done walling himself as Viper comes in with a scout to try and harass that villager, but the fact that this Barbican of the Sun is meant to just keep this gap covered is a little concerning, because Knights will just ignore it and run past, as Knuschebar will lose one villager here to the scout of Viper.
Definitely a little annoyance there from Nush to have lost that villager, not something he would have wanted to happen.
I think
again, with the Song Dynasty, he's going to be able to create villagers so quickly, might be okay. That wall went up, that palisade wall went up so fast already. Viper can't get his knight in there to do any damage, so very quickly those choke points are going to be walled up, and that just puts China in such a strong position to start that boom.
Absolutely. I think at this point, for Knuschebar, sacrificing that villager was a no-brainer. He had to make those walls, because for him, it's more important to get those walls up and prevent knights from flooding in, compared to just keeping that one villager alive. Now, these walls are all exposed to knights, so in theory, Viper could try to burn his way through, and you see he's already adding archers, so he's prepared for a spearman defense, but for Knuschebar, I feel like at this point, he could add a second layer of walls behind this one, just slow down those knights, because you don't have to stop this push. You just need to slow it down to a point where you can get to Castle Age and get some technology advantage. Against Viper's Knight, it might even make sense to go Lancer, so, because the Palace Guards won't perform that well.
Very interesting. So far, pretty textbook stuff here from Knuschebar. He's the one, I think, that is able to sit back and not worry too much. I mean, this already looks like it's going to be a long game. We see there a bit of pressure going on the northern wall to try and siege that down, but another palisade wall coming in right behind it. So Nush has done what he needed to do in the early game. He's got walls coming up. He's got more walls coming up behind them, and he's going to be able to keep repeatedly doing that. And the Viper really now is basically going to have to try and race in terms of eco, and that is just not something easily done against the Chinese.
Absolutely. I think the biggest problem for Viper is that he's investing a lot of resources into his army, but so far he hasn't gotten much out of that. And this sort of needs to be a now or never push. He's coming in with knights, he already has the siege upgrade, so he's making rams. But if this push fails, his economy is going to be so feeble behind this. Viper knows exactly what his opponent is up to, though. You see that there is a vision on the two town centers, he sees the archer range, he sees this side as well. So he's got a very, very good information flow about Knuschebar's position. Nush does have one hidden scout on the right side, so he sees if Viper is pushing that way, but he has no idea about the aggression coming from the north, and he might be caught off guard by this one. This will be the moment where he spots that battering ram rolling in.
Very interesting. Is the Viper going to have timed this just right? Is he going to come in with enough pressure, enough time? Has Knuschebar overplayed his hand a little bit? He's racing to get a barracks up right now. He already has an archery range up. This is going to be absolutely huge how quickly the Viper can get in and start doing some damage in the base here. That ram is going to absolutely shred through that wall.
I think Knuschebar is in trouble, and this is what I was referring to when I said that going into Castle Age instead of Song Dynasty is a little safer, because you see, he just finished his Imperial Academy for Song Dynasty, so this is where he could start building up his eco advantage, but he's just without any kind of army. Now, with the supervisors, you can actually react to things very fast, but your window is already closing. You see, Viper could just send in the archers and snipe that supervisor to prevent you from getting the upgrades, and that's exactly what Viper should do. Knuschebar could be in trouble here. I think he considered his position a little too safe.
Yeah, and he's started off with that hardened spearman upgrade before producing any units. So, I mean, he's just got might have been necessary, but he's just got no military units on the field right now. That Ram are going to come in and start doing damage, and it's all good and well having Song Dynasty, having that extra production, having that Chinese boom, but if you don't get a chance to use it, then it's not going to do very much good for you at all. And Viper, with just incredible game sense as always, sense the only way he had to win this game was to come in with his immediate pressure, and that's what he's doing. Nush is going to try and build up enough mass. He's very, very good at these, at building up, being very patient. We've seen it a number of times, and going in for one big decisive victory. The only way Nush can win this game right now is by doing that, is saving up enough units, letting a lot of his base go down, and coming in with one massive rush. Now, the Viper's built another battering ram there. Has he got enough units? I mean, is it getting to the point where Knuschebar might be able to just about mass enough units to defend this?
Yeah, I feel like it's getting closer and closer. You see, supervised barracks and archer ranges pop out units very fast, whereas Viper has to walk all the way across the map. There is quite a lot of archers here, though, so it's going to be difficult for a spearman to approach the knights, and you see Viper now is starting to push that barracks. This is a troublesome micro spot for Viper, because he needs to protect those rams. On the other hand, Knuschebar, if he keeps those spearmen alive, he's going to be more than happy to play this one.
And the barracks goes down, and that is absolutely huge. He's gonna get the villagers on top of the spearmen on top of the rams, but that is absolutely massive that that barracks went down, because all of a sudden the military production has ground to a halt here for Knuschebar, and now he's got a huge problem as a villager goes down, because the archery range is about to go down too. And now where is the military production going to come from here? There's nowhere near enough military on the field. I don't see another barracks going down. I don't see another archery range going down. This looks like huge trouble.
Like, this could lose the game for Knuschebar here. I don't understand the blacksmith here for him. I think for him, seeing those two battering rams, it was a bigger priority to set up two production buildings behind and just keep supervising, keep producing army, because, as you said, his only win condition is to do exactly what he did in the preceding games. Just take one decisive fight, but you see he's just now scrambling from the archer range. He needs to be able to match those archer numbers and even overpower them, because as long as Viper's got 10, 15 archers on the field, those spearmen will have no chance of touching those knights. At this point, it is 54 villagers against 45. If Knuschebar can hold this off, I think he's in a great position, but he's gonna have an extremely difficult time holding this off, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't necessarily love the decision that he made to spend 25 seconds, 30 seconds making the third battering ram. I think the two battering rams was quite effective, and he did give his opponent time to build another military production building. Personally, I think I would have liked to see him just continue with the momentum. Two was doing enough, but Viper probably knows better than myself, and those three battering rams now are making very light work of that town center, getting through it very, very quickly. And Knuschebar looks to be in panic mode, desperately trying to get some more military production down. That town center just about to drop, and when it does, that is really a bit of a problem. One more hit from the battering rams and it goes down. And even with the supervision, just nowhere near enough military units popping out here. More reinforcements coming in dribs and drabs from the Viper, and he's looking very, very good.
Yeah, I feel like even if Knuschebar survives this one, the damage has been done, so at best it's going to be an even game for Knuschebar. He severely underestimated the aggression here from Viper, and by the time he reacted to it, it was too late. Imperial Palace is now under attack, and you see, now we have a stable against the archers. Maybe it would have been better to start with that instead of the archer range. Go stable and barracks, go spear and horsemen. Still, there is still a window for him to react, and let's not underestimate the fact that he has an 11 villagers lead, but I feel like Viper is already doing a very decent amount of damage here, and if you look at Viper's resources, he's not far away from Castle Age. If he gets to Castle Age and starts adding men-at-arms, both the Jugenu and the Spearman will just die to that.
Oh, he's left those rams a little bit exposed. He's going to probably lose at least one to the scouts. I would have liked to see him do a little bit of a better job defending those rams. That really close to taking down the Imperial Academy, which would be huge. I think one more hit's going to take down the Imperial Academy. Now one more hit's going to take it down, and there it goes.
Looks like the fight is about to begin. Both sides poking and probing. At this point for Knuschebar, he needs to be the one that delays Viper. He can't rush a fight here. He rushes a fight and he loses it, he loses the game. He needs to be patient, He knows exactly that Viper is going to take a little more time to reinforce his army, and I feel like we're getting close to that time window where Knuschebar could take this fight. So I feel like now the question is, did Viper do enough damage? Because I think Viper is about to get cleaned up here in the next 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Now, Nush picking his moment as he does time and time again very well. And this is where that resource investment into the battering rams, it doesn't help you in this situation, but those battering rams, of course, did absolutely massive damage. So if he can take down those scouts and get those Royal Knights on top of the archers, which he's done, it looks like Viper's doing okay here because those Knights are still alive, are getting on top of the archers.
Just not enough spearmen here for Knuschebar.
Yeah.
He went into that fight with 3 spearmen, which is just unbelievable, and he taps out. Viper knew exactly that Knuschebar is going to play an eco-heavy approach, and Knuschebar crumbled under pressure over here. He was trying to do the exact same thing that he did before, but in the end, Viper just had a clinical pressure on him. Knuschebar wasn't able to force a fight, and as I said, he takes a premature fight, he loses the game, and that's exactly what happened. He lost significant numbers here in the end. He just didn't have enough spearman support. And ultimately, Viper closes this set out. He was 1 game down, and he just reverse sweeps Knuschebar. Shout out to Nush, though, because he played an exceptionally good set over here, but Viper is showing why he's a legend in the Age of Empires scene. Being able to play his best when he needs